Well, hello everybody, and back with Kathy Biehl today to have talk about some stuff. I will quickly say that Andy has kind of just withdrawn for at least a little while because his life is just too busy personally, and he has a lot on. So before anybody asks where he is, just wish him a happy birthday because it's coming up, and and he might pop in now and then. We'll see. But Kathy and I would love to keep going. And so I'm Louise Edington, the Cosmic Owl of Cosmic Owl Astrology. I have a Venus retrograde heroines journey class coming up starting the 25th that will actually really help you come into community. And whilst I won't talk politics in it, the whole Venus retrograde really is about claiming your agency and redefining yourself and taking a stand. And we're going to look at some aspects about that and talk about why that's important now. But Kathy, over to you.
I'm Kathy Biehl. My YouTube channel is Professional Aquarian. And on the post page, used to be called community page, I put talking points. Every time I make a call to Congress, I put talking points. So that's something you can look at. I don't do it every single day. I've been getting messages going, where are they? That's where they are. So if you want a script or ideas to work off to get in touch with your reps, um, and I'm going a little, this is a detour. I'll get back to me in a second, but it's important to calls are better than email. Email's better than nothing. Um, Call your senators and your rep at their DC office and at their local office. Same message, because the offices tally how many calls come in on a certain topic. Um, if you want help, there is an app called 5Calls, just the number 5, CALLS. It gives you topics, it gives you background, it gives you scripts. You put your zip code in, and it automatically has your rep and your senator's DC offices. But let me stress, you need to look up, please, their local offices. Those are often easier to get through to. All right, so that's one thing. On the Professional Aquarian YouTube channel, go to posts, and I have a whole sequence of already. It's because I'll say my call to Congress today or your talking points or something. It's pretty obvious what it's about. My website is empowermentunlimited.net. I have weekly moon and monthly forecasts there. And I have a Patreon with a lot of additional material, including a monthly Ask Me Almost Anything. So those are places you can find me. Oh, also I have the Astro Insight Lounge on Facebook, where we look at astrology in the news, like how astrological aspects are playing out there. It was a lot.
Yeah. And so there's a lot going on. Oh my goodness. And if that app is great, I love it, but also it's really easy to find all the contact details. It's just you put just contact my representatives in Google, and there's various sites that give all the reps details and numbers based on where you live. So there's lots of places to find them. I would actually suggest as well calling or emailing like Chuck Schumer and people like that as well. People who have some seniority or power in the Democratic Party. So, anyway, because most of you have probably figured out by now that Elon Musk is is in place of taking over kind of all our national payment systems and so on and so forth. It's basically a coup. But we have long said that NATO was going to kind of be onto this. We were right that there was election interference. I think it's beyond proof that a recount would have done. So it was beyond going, oh, Joe, do something, or, Harris, do something. This is being multi-pronged, planned well in advance. Um, there's evidence that Musk put all these extra satellites up that kind of have infiltrated various systems, including the voting machines. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So it's a lot for everybody to deal with. And so we thought we'd at least look and see what was going on with NATO to start with, because we've always thought that a lot of the change or the challenge to it, or whatever you want to call it, would come from NATO. But Kathy, you wanted to kind of
I just
talk
want
a
to
little bit.
remind people a little bit of what the astrological energies are right now with an eye toward what you can do.
I'm
What
going to put
you
just
can
the
do.
transits while people, yeah,
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
yeah.
On the 4th, on Tuesday,
Mhm.
Venus moves into Aries. Venus, like over the weekend, we had this all-encompassing, everybody's in the same boat together, Venus and Neptune in the North Node, and somebody accessed everybody's information in the United States. Massive security breach occurred. All right, so there'll be more from that. There'll be ramifications. That aspect's coming again, as I mentioned, at the end of March. On the 4th, Venus changes her mode of operation. Venus is our social vibe. It's how we interact with each other. Venus is what we value. I call her the social director of the sky. Venus is going from seeing God in everyone's eyes to warrior goddess mode. This is incredibly empowering. And the first aspect she's going to have is a couple of days later, and she's going to be in a sextile, which is an opportunity aspect with Pluto in Aquarius, power of the people. I would expect, I've seen people in the streets in Dallas, Texas, of all places. I grew up there. I would never have expected that. This is really, it's got openings for get up and do something, fight, and there will be raw, fiery life force flowing through all of us. This is something you're not going to sit and think about. When you see an opening to do something, you will do it. This is Popeye eating his spinach. This is a pregnant woman seeing a car fall on top of a baby and suddenly having the strength to push the car over. This is superhuman, feral, very, very, very powerful stuff.
Mhm.
The fiery feminine on the rampage.
Oh yeah,
You're going to feel
yeah.
it and it will empower you. And everyone has a different thing they're going to do.
Oh yeah.
But
But
this
we
is
all have to do something. This is,
right. And this is building from
yeah.
the 4th until the 7th. But honestly, this contact um, christens Venus's time in the sign
And I
of Aries.
will And I will say Venus is going to be in Aries for quite some time, because she's going to get 10 degrees and station retrograde. So this is going to, and she is going to go back into Pisces to kind of do some more cleaning out. But this is not just a really fast Venus transit of the sign of Aries. This is a potent journey of Venus in Aries.
And this is going to set your inner warrior on fire. Okay. And again, everybody has a different way they're going to be dealing with this. Another important thing to notice is that I will point out that right now, Mars retrograde, Mars in Cancer retrograde, is exactly square Chiron
Mhm.
in Aries, which is very close to where the US Chiron is. And this is going to get repeated in mid-March, this particular arrangement, but there's something here about somebody attacking our joint resources, Mars in the 8th house, and it
And our sense of safety and
has
security, like literally social security.
exactly.
Yeah,
So this is not the
yeah.
end of the story, all right? Often when this people could finally find stuff happening that hits them directly, and it could cause a lot of that, hey, wait a minute, male attitude. Yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
Chiron in Aries could spur a lot of people to not wait for someone to fix it, but to start taking action. So that's also motivating all of us.
Mhm. Yeah. And I would just add that, Aries is Mars' sign as well. So this is very potent. Again, another potent aspect. And we always have free will how we respond to it. Yes, these aspects will be hitting the other players as well, but this is really, if it is to be, it's up to me, energy for each of us. I've been saying that for so long, and if this isn't waking people up, I don't know what will. But anyway.
Well, and as the week goes on, that retrograde Mars is going to be trine, which is a direct current Saturn in the third house of communication. Now, I'm not sure what that is going to do. There could be
Yeah.
some clamping down of what's going on with sacrificing information or who's taking control over information. I don't know what that will be, but there will be a push to do something to bring containment.
Yeah. And then Mercury today, a little bit earlier, was in that lovely
Hmm.
unbroken flow of energy to Jupiter, which is stationing direct on the 4th too. But look at this. This is Vesta. This is um, the flame of, this is the hearth. This is the state, but it's also our inner flame. So again, it's access, and the Scorpio is like deep inner empowerment. This is saying really tap into, this deep inner flame, and don't spiritually bypass, don't or don't withdraw because it's so much. Just play a part, and I think everybody is being called, and I think that same thing is going to happen to people who were gaslit, let's say, or conned or cultified into supporting them. I think more and more people are going to wake up with this aspect too, that realizing that this is going to affect them too. you know I
Well,
think.
that Vesta up there in the 11th is in the house that represents Congress. And what is going on right now would make the House of Representatives basically irrelevant. It has the
Yeah,
power of the purse, it has all the budgeting power under the Constitution. If some unelected person is running around and going in and putting his druthers in for what happens, that really stirs a survival instinct of Congress at Scorpio.
good.
Don't assume they're all going to fall over and go along with this,
Mm.
even the ones who like the stuff he's messing with. Okay, because
Yeah.
Congress's own hearth is at
Yes, exactly. And then, of course, Jupiter stationing direct. Well, that's opposing the ascendant of the USA as well, at 12 degrees Sagittarius. And this will be a shift in both perspective and understanding and what people are saying. Jupiter turning around, and people are going to start speaking out more loudly. Before we recorded, I was saying, well, Jasmine Crockett's speaking out, AOC's speaking out, Elizabeth Warren is speaking out, Swalwell's now speaking out. There some really are starting to really get very loud, and you have to encourage them and do your part too to help, because this is huge. So anyway.
And I'll point out that Jupiter stationed retrograde at the beginning of October. And with this assist from Mercury as it does its about face, this could uh, just kind of spew or amplify the amount of information that comes flying out about things that have happened since early October. Just
Yes,
a hunch.
exactly. And we do still see a lot of this story kind of, reaching at least the final chapter or the start of the final chapter in March. Um, we've talked about those aspects endlessly. We can't go over every aspect every time, but a lot of the stories are coming back in March. So, but I put the quantum astrology gathering on and various things because I still firmly believe that the planets impel, they don't compel. We have free will how we respond to the energies. And Mars in Cancer can go and curl up in a ball, because it's also horrible. But it can also, Mars is also out of bounds and reaching maximum out of bounds on the 7th, and saying do things differently, take different action to protect.
On the
Yeah.
7th, that's fascinating because that's the day that the Sun and Mercury meet. They
Oh,
have a
it is.
conjunction,
Yes, I don't know.
you'll hear it called as cazimi, um, and they'll be in an adjustment aspect with Mars that day. So we might get great clarity and see, oh, what we have to do to change the way we're going about things. That is
So there you go.
that's a
And the moon joins in as well, and the moon's out of bounds that day too. So yeah. Yes. Oh yeah. So yeah, so that's a really good you know push as well too.
and I might have put the times a little differently. They each the Sun in conjuncts Mars, and then Mercury in conjuncts Mars, and then the Sun and
Yeah,
Mercury fuse.
yeah.
So by about it's the 7th, right? By the 7th, yeah, no, the
The
ninth.
seventh,
By the ninth.
well, the seventh Mars reaches its very maximum out of bounds point, and then it stays there for a few days. So it's all kind of happening, you know,
So
in
by
a
the
bit.
ninth, we have each of us gets incredible personal clarity and an
Mhm.
understanding of things and ideas of, okay, now I'm going to tinker with how I am expressing myself. I'm going to tinker with how I'm going about uh, pushing my agenda forward.
Yes, yeah, and they're still in orb. I'm going to say of the square that Kathy mentioned with Chiron, as the USA has its Chiron return. And this is actually making an exact sextile almost to the USA's Chiron. So, really, literally, in the way I kind of look at astrology, the USA is in this major healing crisis. And what do the people, Aquarius, and the moon in Cancer on that day do about it?
And that's very close to the US sun.
It is
So
very,
there's a very, very strong, there will be something on Sunday that will, maybe it's the Super Bowl, I don't know what, but there is something on Sunday that is going to create an atmosphere of we are a country, what are we going to do about it?
I didn't know it was the Super Bowl on Sunday. Sorry to laugh, everybody, but I'm not into football.
I
or
only know it because I have a neighbor who uses football as an excuse to eat wings. So
yeah,
I know these things from him.
no. So there's a lot of aspects, kind of, and we're going to keep it pretty tight timeline wise because there's so much coming up. But there's a lot of aspects just over this first few days of February, really kind of pushing you to kind of pay attention, put the pieces together. I'm seeing a lot of posts on Facebook saying, "I'm imploring you, don't totally detach from the news. Yes, don't watch the 24-hour talking heads anymore, but pay attention to what's going on. Pull the pieces together, and then take what action you can." So yeah. Anyway, any more aspects you want to look at? Because in fact, look at that though. The Saturn Mars trine is a minute apart as the Mercury and the Sun exactly meet. So that's
Something's going to say, stop it.
something is going to say stop it. And as I keep saying, Mars maximum out of bounds, the moon out of bounds every month in the sign of Cancer, actually from late Taurus to early Leo every month at lunar maximum. This is what's happening out there is going to be super out of bounds, as if we hadn't realized that. They're breaking the rules, everything is they're trying to break everything. So we have to do things differently if we want to stop it. And I think we can, personally. So especially if we look at NATO, because we've always talked about NATO, right? And sorry to preach, I'm just like, I feel like it's my job now to go, you've got to do something. This is my part of doing something. Anyway, so NATO, let's have a look at NATO's chart, and then we're going to actually just look at the transits with NATO. So we happen to, somebody, thanks to a comment, said that NATO was meeting in the UK. Well, they didn't meet in the UK, but they did meet. And it was EU leaders held a triple first, which they called it, which was talks with the NATO chief amid uncertainties over Trump's policies. So there was EU leaders, the head of NATO, and they had their first dedicated talks on defence, and their first with a British Prime Minister since Brexit. So, this is pretty unusual as well. Macron, of course, was there. Leaders of the EU's 27 nations huddled in the Belgian capital with Britain's Prime Minister, because of course the UK left the EU, and the head of NATO. So the three all met. And they also, of course, discussed aggressive Russia as well, and so on and so forth. And, I've mentioned it before that Mars in Cancer is also about defense. And again, we have Mars out of bounds in Cancer. So here's NATO's chart in the middle, and the current transits. And so, which bit shall we talk about first? There's a lot happening here. So.
What jumps out at me, I'm gonna jump around the timeline, which may confuse people, but what jumps out at me is Mars in NATO's first house moving into that trine with Saturn in NATO's ninth house, which is exact on the ninth, and I think there could be action that comes that's international, that's got an international flavor to it. Well, it is a multinational organization. Um, they're
Yeah,
they're going to do something to try to contain something, maybe
right.
couple somethings, because Pisces is a sign of duality.
It
So
is.
I would not be
Uh,
surprised if there isn't not merely an announcement, but a NATO action that occurs by Sunday the 9th.
yeah, I would agree. And, not to forget that we have this triple conjunction of Venus, Neptune, and the North Node happening as we record this on the 3rd. And this is within a sliver of the midheaven, the public reputation, or the visibility, or a public voice as well of NATO. And, that was an absolute gathering, a triple first. Venus, Neptune, North Node
There you
of
go.
the three people all coming together in that sign of interconnectedness. We've all got to come together to deal with this. So fabulous. We told you Rutte would be involved. And then I want to mention Jupiter. Jupiter stationing direct on the 4th at 11 degrees Gemini. And that is in I'm going to draw the lines so people can see them. Well,
Can
it's
you
at the
can you
midpoint.
put oh
Sorry.
can you put the oh, that's beautiful.
It's making a mini grand trine to Venus in Aries. By the way, Venus is going to station retrograde at 10 Aries, conjunct the Venus of NATO in their 10th house, public, warrior goddess, all the things that Kathy talked about for you individually. This will be NATO. And Mars, it's stationing. Venus will station retrograde on NATO's Mars. But more importantly, this week, this mini grand trine is activating this trine between Venus and Ceres, a fire grand trine. Ceres in the second house of values, self-worth. This speaks to me of taking a big stand, as well as the other aspects that Kathy mentioned, and speaking out, and possibly, other actions.
Or there could be disclosures that come from behind the scenes, and Jupiter's direct station speaks to that. Can you put, that's the fourth when it's trining? When is it exactly trining? It trines Mercury. Can you,
Mercury trine.
yeah, Mercury trine Jupiter.
Yeah, the way my brain works, I see it happening all at once. It's really weird.
Oh, no, that's
No,
good,
I'll
but
put it
I
back.
want to
No, I'll put it
break
back
it
to
down
today.
so people don't get
It's
confused.
it's
So
today.
it's today. All right. So uh, Mercury is in NATO's eighth house of joint resources, but it's also criminality, and it's in the sign of communication and networks. And it is trining, which is the direct current, open flow, unbroken flow, to Jupiter in the 11th house of things that have been going on behind the scenes, communications. Interestingly, Mercury rules the sign that Jupiter is in. So I would expect a flood of information coming out from this in the aftermath of this NATO meeting.
Because of course this aspect was applying, which means it was approaching as they were meeting. So yes, it's something, and both of these are kind of hidden houses as well. The eighth is secrets and behind the scenes, the 12th. So yes, I would not be surprised if a flood comes out. Maybe not today, but it's going to start coming out. They have to, of course, be prudent how it comes out. So I'd love to go back to quickly that point where was it the Mars Saturn aspect, if that's all
Please.
right?
Yes, I'd like
Because,
that.
um, and we are getting quite granular about this because we just see that this is building, and I just wanted to mention that the moon is also mentioned it on the transit chart, but as Mars Saturn is in that trine, the moon also is coming up to the ascendant of NATO. So the people, and coming out of that hidden behind the scenes place. So, I think things are really going to come out. Well, they already are. People are kind of seeing them. The reports are coming from various places, but it's the pieces are starting to come together. And isn't it interesting that the Mercury Sun conjunction, the Cazimi at 20, is also in that house of shared resources, kind of this moment of dazzling clarity when Mercury and the Sun meet. So,
That is beautiful. And it's going to be trining NATO's moon.
moon, yes, yes, NATO's moon. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
And looking ahead just slightly, you can keep this chart where it is. Notice that NATO's ascendant is 17 degrees Cancer, and we have retrograde Mars at 18 Cancer heading back, and on the 9th, it hits 17, and it sits there until early March. It goes direct on February 23rd. So it sits for a couple of weeks, retrograde on the ascendant, and then it sits for a couple of weeks direct on the ascendant before it gets moving. Action is forthcoming, and I think as I said, the first wave is by next weekend when Mars trines Saturn. NATO is going to do something. They will do something. I don't know what they will do, but it's not going to be, oh, they're having talks. They will do
Oh,
something.
yeah. I don't think we even need to look at that Rutter's chart again because we've said that he is a doer already. He's such a doer. So, I'm trying to look when Mars makes it exactly to that ascendant, but maybe I'm just being silly here. So to do that, so February the 17th, Mars has just passed the ascendant, stations direct at on the 23rd, so it's going to sit on NATO's ascendant for flipping ages, to be honest. I think you worked out how long it was at the 17-degree mark, didn't you?
Oh, it's from February 9th until early into March.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't matter. Early March is fine, and it's out of bounds until April the 4th, I think. So there it stations direct at exactly 17 degrees and will slowly head. But this is basically on the ascendant. This is a time that was given for NATO, but these times it could have the exact minute. I don't think is so important. It's the fact it stays at that 17 degrees mark for so long. They are determined to defend
Right,
the West, basically.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. hmm by the way, I love that the moon is over here by then too. When Mars stations direct, we'll be hitting the descendant.
Moon in Capricorn is so no nonsense. I'm in it for the long game. It's
Oh
not
yeah,
soft, cuddly. Oh, let's
yeah.
have milk and cookies. It's nope, nope, nope. Long
Oh,
game.
long game.
Cold.
Here are cold, but staying power as well. Great. Cancer Capricorn has really great staying power as well. It's very resilient. Is another good word for these signs, Cancer and Capricorn. Everybody always thinks Cancer is a big ball of mush. Not so much. It's got a hard shell. It can be deeply resilient when it chooses to be.
That moon is square
Anyway,
NATO's sun. That
and
moon is square NATO's sun.
oh, so it is. Yeah.
And so
hmm
that's motivating. And you were just pointing out Venus is on NATO's Mars.
Yes. On that day. Yeah.
NATO will
And
be very active.
Chiron will be back at 20 degrees there. So, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some US leaders talking to NATO, even if it's not,
I would
maybe,
agree with that.
maybe even military leaders.
I would agree with that
Mars.
too.
Yeah. hmm So, I don't know if there's anything else you want to say. I think we just felt we wanted to jump on because people are panicking out there, and it's there's a lot happening, but I really do not see it sticking. I think the more people are going to keep waking up and seeing that this is, basically we've been conned. The government is trying to put Project 2025 in, even though, the person elected said he didn't know anything about it. And then Musk is doing his thing. I'm sure Palantir and Teal and all those people have all also playing their part. All the people we've looked at, they're all trying to take their piece of it, I think, is what the thing is. But I think they're going to be stood up to. And I'm not going to say resistance because what you resist persists. This is about taking action, doing.
And we all have to do it
Yeah. hmm
our own way.
Yeah.
Also, there's a there's a blockage coming for Musk within a week. Just know that. I don't know how
So,
big it'll be, but astrologically there's a roadblock hitting him. And you're saying, what, that long? Speak up, call, do what you have to do. And if you have trouble getting through to your uh, congressional reps, start getting in touch with the people who represent you locally, who administer programs that are at risk, and say, what plans do you have to deal with blum blum blum, because it's happening in many places. It's
oh,
happening
it
in
was.
many places. And the only piece of news I'll give you is that Ottawa canceled a $100 million contract with Starlink today. So
Which is super because there was already kind of the critics going, oh, he's in with Musk kind of thing. Well, clearly he's not. He sees it and he's like, oh, I've woken up now. So I say celebrate those, and thank those that the people in elected office who are waking up to what's really going on and seeing things and saying something, amplify their voices, like AOC, like Swalwell, like um, but I did mention in our last call that I did see a press conference with the Senate leaders, and they were sounding pretty um, uh, firm as well. So, Sheldon Whitehouse, or sort of quite a few of them. So, amplify their voices as well and say, please do more kind of thing. I think people are going to suddenly go, oh, they were planning this after all, and we have to stop it. And we do, and we will. I love, by the way, that by the time Mars Stations Direct, Pallas Athena strategy is on Pluto, uncovering, all the rot. We're seeing this rot fully in our faces now, and so perhaps we had to see it before we could do anything. There we go. Any more
speak up,
thoughts?
speak out,
Yes,
look
speak out.
into warrior goddesses, research warrior goddesses.
Yeah, yeah, and
Find your
Hygeia. This is Hygeia. This is holistic healing. She's in Taurus by then, and she is in the sign of Taurus in the 10th house of NATO, about values and sticking to the roots of what's good. Really, Taurus likes things based on strong core values. Well, that's square this too. So, this, we do have it in us, and on my daily Substack, I try not to make it all about politics, but the message for ages before this came to light has been that the trajectory is that we each have to take our agency and take a stand. And so I'll keep saying it. But also do your self-care. Part of taking a stand and doing agency is really filling your cup and doing lots of self-care so that you can build your resilience, so you are able to do things, and don't kind of watch the 24-hour news cycle. You can be aware without doing that. You can be aware of what's going on by many means, and keep looking after you and yours as well, and building up your basis of security, but not in a panic way. Yeah. Any words from
says,
you?
I took a news diet. I went off news this weekend pretty much and had
Yeah.
hardly any social media, just a little bit. And I slept so long Saturday night. So every once in a while, that's a very good thing to do. All right.
Yeah.
Because then you have more energy when the fire goes on inside you, which it's going to do for all of us once Venus hits Aries, you know?
Yeah. Well, I did too, Kathy, because I came down with this head cold on Saturday,
Mhm.
and luckily I just pretty much switched off, and nursed my cold, and I slept for hours too, like napped and at night, and luckily the cold seems to be on its way out fairly quick, but I'm still going to be making sure I take care of me first. But all that Pisces energy as well that we've mentioned has this big purging and cleansing kind of energy. And I personally think a lot of people are purging and cleansing a lot of old beliefs, old faiths, old, you know, the gaslighting too, purging that, and where we've kind of like been under some illusion, and starting to see things more clearly. Thankful, thankfully, and that's going to grow. So I'm having a literal purge with with a cold.
Oh dear.
Oh, I like that I could look at a cold that way then, instead of going, I've got a cold. I'm like going, purge, purge. All right, everybody. You we're gonna be okay, but we have to pull together. And you know, I just feel like it's part of what I was here for, to reach this point. I don't know about you, Cassie, to actually kind of use our voice and platform, to amplify that message. So
Seems to be.
yeah. All right. See you next time, guys.